So this story is the story of Caer and Angus Og, and it is absolutely the happiest love story in all of Irish mythology. Nothing bad happens. Angus Og is the god of love. He had been born of the Dagda and Boan. In fact, he was conceived and born all in one day. Because the Dagda, when he saw Boan, he knew he needed to talk to this woman and he needed to spend time with her, but her husband was very jealous. So he made the sun stand still for a year and a day so that they could spend that time together. And when she inevitably bore a child, he could take the child away so she wouldn't be in trouble. And that child, born of this absolute adoration, was Angus Og. And Angus Og was the god of love, and he was lovely, and he was loved. He was so charming, he was so beautiful, he was so easy, so lovely to talk to, and every person that spoke to him just wanted to be with him all the time. And Angus liked the attention. He enjoyed it, he loved chatting to people, but he never felt that spark. He never felt that connection. He never felt that desperate, keening, yearning need to be with another person. And then one night he went to sleep. And while he was asleep, a woman came into his dreams. He dreamt she opened the door and she walked up to his bed, and she had long white hair, a long white dress, and the most beautiful neck he'd ever seen. A little thin gold chain around it. She didn't say a word. She just stood there. And then she left. And then he woke up. And from that day on, Angus could not get to bed fast enough. Every night when he went to sleep, he would see this woman. She would come in. Sometimes she would play music. Sometimes she would just sit by his bedside, but she would never speak to him. And he just slept. He slept all day. He slept all night. He wouldn't get out of his bed. And because he wouldn't get out of his bed, he wouldn't eat. He wasn't really getting any rest. And he started to waste away of love sickness. And his parents were distraught. The Dagda sent for Dian Cecht, the healer. You have to come. He's ill. And Dian Cecht came, and Boan stood by his bed and fretted. And Dian Cecht looked him in the eye. He said, "Have you been dreaming?" And Angus went, Dian Cecht, "Have you been dreaming of a woman?" And Dian Cecht stood up and he looked at the Dagda and Boan and said, "There's nothing I can do for him. He is lovesick. And until he finds the woman in his dreams, he's not going to get any better. He'll waste away waiting for her." And the Dagda said, "Well, then we'll search the country. What does she look like?" And eventually they got a description out of Angus. It was very florid, but eventually they got white hair, white dress, gold chain. Excellent. And they summoned Bovdarg and they sent him to search the whole country, find this woman. And he went up and he went down. He went all the way up to Rathlin. He went all the way down to Cape Clear. He went all the way up to Loop Head. He went to Dublin. He went everywhere. He checked everyone. And he came back and he said, "I think I've found her. And you're not going to like this. But her father is a very powerful druid. And he has put a spell on this woman. Her name is Caer. And she's a swan most of the time." And the Dagda said, "That's okay. Love comes in all forms. We can make this work." I said, "Okay, well, she's at the lake of the Dragon Mouth. And once a year, on the 1st of November, she'll come back and turn back into a woman. And that is the only time of the year that she is human. So I guess we have to go there." Angus was listening, and as soon as he heard a location and a name, he was up like a shot. Caer, Lake of the Dragon Mouth, 1st of November. I need to get my hair cut. And he went off. There was no stopping him. He went to the lake, and while he was stood there on the 1st of November, 50 swans flew in, and they came down across the lake. 49 of them had silver chains around their neck, and one of them had a gold chain. And as she touched the water, she turned into the woman of his dreams. There she was. And he waded out into the water immediately. He's like, it's me. Please come home with me. And she said, I can't. I'm a swan most of the year. And he said, I can break the spell. And she went, this isn't a spell my father put on me. I put this spell on me. I chose this. My father would have me sit in his court and look pretty. He'd have me marry someone for influence. As a swan, I can go where I please. I can do what I like. And I like that. If you want to be with me, you might have to change the way you live. And at the end of the day, she turned back into a swan and she flew away. And Angus went home, thinking very hard. And the Dagda said, well, how did it go? How was she? Did you get on well? And he went, yeah, we got on well. I have some things to think about. I might be moving out. And he did his research, and he went around the country, and he collected plants, and he collected funny little things, feathers and shells, and he ground them up into powders, and he was up all night doing all sorts of stuff. And eventually, about the 30th of October, he had a little bottle of herbal concoction, and he went back down to the lake, and he stood there on the shore, and he waited. And as she came in, a crowd had gathered at this point because they all knew he was up to something. They went, he's going to turn her back into a woman. He's going to do it. He's made a spell. We can see it. It's in his hands. It's glowing green. And she landed and she turned into the beautiful woman and she walked straight out to him. And she stood there with her feet in the water. He stood on land. And she went, well. And he took the cork out of the bottle and drank it. And before their eyes, the beautiful god of love, Angus, vanished and turned into a swan. And Caer smiled and turned back into a swan, and they flew away together, mated for life, the way they liked it.
Oh, that was so nice.
It's just such a charming story.